Our next presenter is Mr. Gaetan Royer. Minimalism describes design that exposes the essence of a project or concept, using the simplest and fewest elements to maximize effect. Gaetan applies minimalist principles in his many endeavors. He has a formal education in architecture, urban planning, and engineering. As a published author, Gaetan's style is crisp and punchy. As a presenter, his images are memorable, his words warm and engaging. As a designer, his architectural work exudes functionality and serenity. Gaetan volunteers with the Pacific Parklands Foundation, Mossam Creek Hatchery, Crossroads Hospice Society, Rotary, and other organizations. Gaetan is the CEO of a consulting firm, citystate.ca. Please welcome Gaetan.
All right. This is a story about hands. Big hands, little hands that shape our community. The unborn are already conscious of their hands. Later, we bite our nails, we rub our faces, we cover our eyes. We use our hands to cradle our loved ones. As we've seen in Ferguson this past year, hands convey compelling political messages. Hands in the air can be a symbol of submission, a sign of protest, or a sign of defiance. Hands are used to display human solidarity, from a simple handshake to loud applause. Hands tell a lot about where we come from. They're a visible way that we use to share our culture. They tell a story about the kind of life that we've had, and they also tell about how hard that life has been. Hands are a universal symbol of collaboration. This story about hands starts about 2 years ago. My wife and I hosted a big party, artists meeting artists. We used images and bios from 40 artists to introduce them to each other. Our PowerPoint had 120 slides. And then kaboom, we had 250 slides at the next event. Many of the slides featured several artists, organized by Zoe Royer and her dream team. Some members are here tonight. This kaboom was a fabulous way to introduce artists, Port Moody artists, to the community. Kaboom, the party happens around you. Now, pun intended, show of hands. Who was at kaboom here? Yeah, quite a few people. Great. The key goal of these two events was to encourage collaboration between artists. Now, there was a lot of collaboration before artists meeting artists, before kaboom, but I'd say we cranked it up a notch. We helped artists fall in love with each other, or at least in love with each other's work. Just look at the emotion on those hands. I'm so proud of that photograph. Love turned into projects. A group gathered at Tracy Riddle's place. I see some puzzled looks. This is a World Urban Forum meeting in Naples. We don't have a photograph of that first meeting at Tracy's place. This is exactly what it was like as a meeting. Tracy launched a collective art project with a very simple premise. We would pair Port Moody artists with photographers. Each photographer was assigned 4 or 5 artists, and the idea was to capture their hands at work and collect these photographs. The project was titled, quite appropriately, Hands That Shape the Community. Look at David Driscoll's hands. I mean, these are hands that shaped his community. David's work is found at City Hall in more ways than one, Rocky Point Park, at Crossroads Hospice Healing Garden. The next couple of photographs are from Jerry Moss, and I really love them. There's an extraordinary wood turning show that's taking place right now at the Port Moody Art Center, and what a great way to make art approachable. My grandkids were absolutely fascinated by the whimsical sculptures, the colors, the tools, and the familiar objects given a different twist. As one of the photographers, I was moved by the artists who I worked with. Sonia is a painter who won first prize in a contest in New York City at the age of 16. Some of her designs were featured in international magazines, and I feel absolutely blessed that I was invited in her studio. Hands That Shape the Community exposed us to lost skills. Marcus Farner is a book artist, and his art breaks away from the traditional in both text and layout. This is a rare Colt Armory letterpress. The local wood artist Chris Young was paired with himself. Chris maintains one of Canada's most active woodworking blogs, and he teaches seminars at Lee Valley Tools. He also crafts the funkiest of puzzles. Hands That Shape the Community is a bit of a documentary of our creative folks in Port Moody. I wanted to use these two images to highlight the amazing creativity of the photographers themselves, the ones who put this documentary of images together. Our group became Inlet Artists, and under Tracy Riddle's leadership, we had two exhibits. One was an exhibition of just the photographs, and the other one was really interesting. We exhibited the photographs of artists' hands along with the work that they were working on. Next to the photograph was a piece of finished art. These images are from the second show at the Gallery Bistro, and you can tell by these images that artists love to express themselves with their hands. They thrive on feedback. Public reaction to our two shows was outstanding, and we sold pieces, which is great. The next step for me was to bring the community into the project. So I built a small photo booth, a white box with an iPad on top looking down through a hole, and I went to public events asking people to put their hands into the box and striking a pose that I was taking. A lot of people had fun with this. They would look at the image on the iPad and move their hands around and then say, "Okay, now," and I would snap the picture. Families put their hands together to shape our community. Families put their hands together to shape our community. So I'm working on a large mosaic now. This is just a small part of what's going to cover an entire wall. From a distance, it's going to look like an abstract in gray and flesh tones, but as you get closer, the hands are going to draw you in. That mosaic is my gift to recognize all of the hands that shape our community. Thank you. So people who know me know that I've been involved with Crossroads Hospice for many years, for 15 years. I have a sister who's 10 years my junior, who passed away when she was 33. She died of lifestyle, for lack of better description. So I got myself involved in Crossroads Hospice. They have an artist in residence. Her name is Christine, and she helps families assemble scrapbooks as a way to memorialize their loved ones. And in this photograph, you have a patient whose hand is being pressed into plaster to create a memento for the family. Her daughter's hand is pressing on using her palm and fingers, and then Christine's fingers gracefully come into the frame on the left-hand side to press this lady's little finger into plaster. Now, she passed away that same week, and that image is what love means to me. Thank you.